Okay, this is the Game Design Live Chat. I'm Carla Kopp. I'm a game designer, developer, and publisher, and this is the truly amazing Marcus Ross. He is the designer of Bees.
Such a
If
great
I,
game.
I mean, it is fantastic. And Discount Salmon, among other games. I mean, Bees is like my favorite because like that name is just like you just go on forever. He also does Water Bear games with that amazing logo. I mean, if you don't know about water bears, they're terrifying. But that's not Marcus.
Oh, our logo tries to be more cuddly and cute, but yes, the tiny little microscopic things. But yeah. Um, so do I just go or?
Well, if you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, like if I missed
Well,
anything, there's probably key points that I missed about your life.
barely. So Water Bear Games is me and my cousin Kara. We design games here in Omaha, Nebraska. Our most recent published game is a game called Let Her Go from WizKids. It's a word game, party game sort of thing. Uh, but yeah, our first game was Discount Salmon, and that actually was the result of a contest win. So it's
Which
why I
is
feel like. Go ahead.
which is a great segue into our topic, which is about contests.
Yay.
Can you tell us
So,
about like the whole story of Discount Salmon and how you entered a contest and all that?
sure. So Discount Salmon was part of a contest that was called Tabletop Deathmatch. It was put on by Cards Against Humanity. That was some time ago. The point of the contest was to get people who had never published a game before in front of judges to have their games evaluated, and the winner of the contest would get their game printed for free and given to them, and a booth at Gen Con. Our game was one of the two winners of that contest, and we actually had to present at Gen Con to a panel of judges that were all industry experts, and they judged our game to be the best one, or one of the two best ones, so that helped. The next year, I went to Gen Con. I wore a fish costume at the back of the convention hall, and we sold quite a few. I think we sold something like $3,000 worth of games, which was really cool. Let's see, what else can I just say about that? That contest was interesting. It had quite a few entrants, and it was worldwide. But the things we did for that contest was make sure our game was simple and you could get the point across very quickly. And if you've ever played Discount Salmon, it is a speed matching game. So it is, and it presents its humor very well, and it comes across very quickly.
So what was the contest about? Was it just like best game or did it have like any qualifiers or anything like that?
The only qualifier was you've not had a game published before, so the games were wide ranging. Our game was very much a party game, but there were other games in the contest that were strategic games that would take 2 hours, or just a ton of cards. There was one that was two-player asymmetrical battle sort of game. It was wide open.
So you brought up like getting to the point quickly. Like how quick do you think like getting to the point like makes you stand out?
It depends on the contest and what they're looking for, but honestly, uh, the thing you want to do is get across what your game is about, how you win, the actions you take in the game that are interesting and make it different than other games. And honestly, you have to hook people in the first 30 seconds of your explanation, whether it's it depends on the entry format. So it could be, if it's video, yeah, you definitely want to get people there fast. Um, Elevator pitch style. I mean, video is totally different, like an in-person demo where you actually take someone through the entire game. You have to just hit the highlights because it has to take the place of playing the game. And honestly, you have maybe 5 minutes, and I wouldn't go towards the higher end of that. I try to keep it to three.
And that's for in person pitching.
Uh, in-person pitching as well, but yeah, in-person pitching, you at least have the ability to have the components and hand them to the people, and they can actually see how things go together. When you're doing it on video, they can't interrupt you and ask clarifying questions. So you have to think of everything that they're going to ask in the very brief amount of time that you're going to have show what makes your game interesting and unique, and you have to kind of do it on rails. So that's the kind of thing I would practice more than once before I submit a video entry. Like, just write a script. What are you going to say? What are the highlights of your game?
What are some things like you said to think of everything they're going to ask? Like, how do you like figure those things out if you've never done it before?
Well, hopefully you have at least one other person you can talk to about your concepts and pitch it to them as if they were a game publisher. Now, they're not going to have all of the same knowledge a game publisher would have, but their natural questions are definitely going to be things you want to hit. And when they ask those questions is important. If they're asking before, and if it's like your next sentence, that's fine. But if it's the fourth sentence later, or if it's not in your script, you want to add those things in, figure out where those things go.
That's really important, like a good thing to think about. Like, I've never thought about it like the whole like fourth sentence later, like moving bits up depending on like when they have the questions, because obviously like they had the question for some reason at this time, so like these ideas go together, and then hopefully if you do that enough, like it flows super well because like you did all this testing.
Right. That's among the things I try to think about if that's going to be the format. I generally like to do the format where I can actually send in a prototype or present a prototype, because then you have the actual components and you can be judged more fairly. I mean, I think it's a little harder to get the entire gist of a game based on basically a video. It's very one way. I'd like to have the back and forth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because I've been trying to enter more contests, and like I just don't understand the video format. Yeah, because like the games that I make are like I think are really good, but like they never get past the video stage. But if I think like once somebody plays it, they would like it. It's just
Right, and
that.
I figure the best thing to do to enter a video contest is to cheat. And what I mean is, generally it's not their first video contest. They'll have last year's winners and they will have entered video as well. So you can just look at what they did to present their game. So you don't want to present the exact same type of game, but you at least know, you can at least look and see what did the judges see in this 3 minutes 44 seconds that your game didn't do, or can or some sort of way you can emulate that. So I listened to a friend of mine, Jay Little. He's always, who am I in this game? Like, what is my player's character? Is he a knight? Does he own a building somewhere? Am I whatever it is you're trying to do? The theme of the game. How do you? What do I do? So the actions you take in the game. Do I buy properties? Do I control a dragon that knocks down other people's buildings? And then how do I win? Just, you need to know how you win the game. And then you're looking for the other things that are basically on a sell sheet. Number of players, how long it takes to play, the weight of the game, possibly your name, but don't get into your backstory. It's just not the time for it. It's all about the game on that type of video.
What are some things when you're trying to convey the weight of your game? Like, what are some like key phrases that you like to use?
It's like, I always like to say this is a game for families and the kids like 9 and up or something. It's like very, it's kind of like it's a light descriptor. So it's like, is this actually for adults looking to spend time with other adults and no kids are allowed when you're playing this game? Or is the strategy of the game just high enough that you want to be 14 years old or higher? It's like casual. or not. Is, I guess, the other thing I would try to get past.
Yeah, I do like that you brought up the audience, because like if you say audience soon enough, it should get like the judge's mind in the right like area. We've been doing like pitch practice, and that's one of the things. Like if you say audience, then like you end the player time, then it like puts me in the right mindscape to like know, like give the other details like more to hold on to, if you will.
It's like, and there's always a distinction between this game takes between 90 minutes and 120 minutes, or if you say something more like it takes 30 minutes per player, it gives me an idea of how the game might play differently.
Carol had a question. What do you think are the benefits and pitfalls of contests like that? Often for graphic design contests and things, folks tend to find that they take advantage of the time of the designer, but do you feel that a game design contest like this respects your time and energy as a designer and provides value?
So I'll just answer that with just the reasons why I enter contests. I will admit that there is a lot of work on the designer's end, and what you have to decide is which contests are going to be worth your time. You're entering when I enter a contest, it's primarily because I want to have a deadline and have some constraints on boxing in game design, because I can afford to make any prototype I want. So I've got like parts for everything. I've got bits of wood. I've got more things I know what to do with is my biggest problem. I need some constraints to focus my ideas. So, and then all the contests have a deadline, so it gives me a time box in which to make something happen. And what I'm trying to do with the game contest is introduce myself to publishers, because I'm not Reiner Knizia or Elizabeth Hargrave. They're not knocking down my door to work with me. So if I can actually present a well-designed prototype with clear rules on a deadline, that shows a potential publisher I'd be someone they could work with. And it's not exactly spec work, but you're not getting paid. I'd like to win, but it's not the most important thing. So for me, yes, you're going to be doing a lot of work for a publisher for free, but it's not my goal. It's the thing is I definitely look for in a contest are I maintain control of all my ideas, even if I win, and they're not doing anything weird with entries. And you just know weird when you see it. I don't even know how to describe weird, but sometimes you go, I'm not entering that contest.
Carol asked, how is IP assigned in these contests? Do you maintain the IP, or is it just the right of first refusal? Yeah.
Even right of first refusal is one of those ones where I'm just like, I designed this because of your contest, but I think I would like to maintain control if at all possible. So that one, I would have to really want to work with that publisher to give them right of first refusal.
Yeah, I think from the ones I've seen, like usually if you win, like you get the option like to sign with the publisher, and like you always get to like say no or like start the back and forth.
Sure.
Yeah, and definitely big red flag if they're trying to do anything but leave the rights of the game with the designer.
Yeah.
But I actually did have a question. I just wanted to. My question is the difference between pitching to a publisher for publishing and entering a contest, and how you see those two as different in terms of, for lack of a better term, winning or getting signed.
Ooh, okay. I'm not sure I see much distinction. There's just the little bit more in a contest where the contest is going to have rules they've laid out at the top. It either has to involve some sort of components, or it has to meet some playtime thing, or whatever the publisher sets out. Make sure your game hits absolutely all of those, because you're designing to spec, basically. If you can't follow that instruction, it says to the publisher you don't respect their rules, and if that's the first impression you give, it's not gonna. It doesn't put them in a mind frame of this is the person I can work with. That's that. So I'm just making sure that my contest entry shows that I paid attention. Other than that, like to an actual publisher, you do your research ahead of time to make sure that your game would kind of fit in with the kinds of games they publish, and it doesn't duplicate too closely anything that they've already got in their line. But honestly, they're very, very similar in my mind.
Yeah, well, especially if like publishers have like what they're looking for. Like if they have a list of the games they're looking for, that's kind of like a contest to get to that game first.
I mean, they're just people. They put something on the table that will excite them, and especially if it's something they think they can sell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, It helps to know what game components cost, so you don't inadvertently design a game that's got 57 different dice. And you're like, that's not going to work. Even if it's the most fun game in the world, it would be $800. I'm like, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. So like I'm running an 18 card contest right now, and I'm just like going through all the entries. And one cool thing about that from like a publishing standpoint is like versus somebody like just pitching me their game that they like designed and stuff is I have like, I don't know, like 30 games that fit what I'm looking for. Like it's amazing as a publisher because it's like I might publish like 5 of these games and like getting
18
5
cards.
games like that is wonderful.
18 cards is very low cost. I think Button Shy makes a very good living doing that. Mm-hmm. And yeah. There's a company in Lincoln here in Nebraska that does Mint 10 games, and I think they did a contest. I'm trying to remember if they did or not, but that's a fun little form factor to work with. I know I entered Game Crafters Mint 10 contest. I didn't finish that game to my specifications, but so I've kind of put it away. But it's something I might explore. I like small format because it gives you the first constraint. It's got to fit this very specific constraint, and I think things that are small footprint like that lend themselves well to contests because it gives you enough game space to show your style, but it's also something you can complete in a month while you're doing other stuff.
Andres had a question. Any good contests you recommend for newbie designers?
Specific ones, I'm not sure. I think what I would look for as a newbie designer is contests that they'll have industry judges, and if they're providing feedback on prototypes, that would be amazing. It's kind of hard to find that. But yeah, what you really want to know is, even if my game didn't make it to the next round, what about my game held it back? That would be a great thing to get out of a contest. I don't know too many that do that. The ones I tend to enter tend to just either get accepted or rejected. My favorite is probably Hava's contest. You sign up for a very low cost set of bits that they send you, and you have to use some of them in your game design. And all of their games are family weight and accessible. It's just kind of like the place where I design as a game designer. It's like nothing takes longer than 45 minutes. And it's all bright and colorful. And it gives you just enough constraints to work with.
Mm-hmm. I'd also recommend the Button Shy contest. Like they do about a contest every month or depending on their schedule.
Always one going. Do they have one going right now? I think the last one I considered entering was the worker placement game that was only the 18 cards. You couldn't put any other bits in. I'm like, that's a challenge. How are you going to make that? I came up with some ideas, but I never entered it. I just thought, that's a tough one.
Oh, it's definitely tough. But I played like a number of them, and like people are really inventive when they have to be.
he's built a whole community of people that are just super excited about that contest and do all the contests.
Mm-hmm.
What are they currently on? Yeah, I don't think he's got one going right now.
Amelia asked, is there a good forum to keep up with available contests?
Let's see. The one I use is Cardboard Edison's. On their website, they maintain a list of contests. I know there's one on Board Game Geek, but it's Board Game Geek, so good luck finding it. I keep my Twitter. I have like my company account only follows other board game accounts, so I usually just see stuff scroll across, and if it looks interesting and meets my own parameters for what contest is, I'll enter those, and I have the time.
Yeah, those are the only ones I know of. But like Cardboard Edison, like they do all the work for you, so.
They do wonderful things. I try to remember for the Cardboard Edison Award, do they judge all the entries, or do they just judge the ones that are make their finalist list or short list?
So they give feedback, like they have a first round where they have videos and rules, and they give feedback back on that.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Then that'd be one I would definitely enter as a first-time designer.
Yeah, and it's only like a $5 entry fee, or like being part of their Patreon, but like getting to see the feedback based on like the videos and stuff that you present. Like, I always like get the feedback, and it's like, well, I obviously was very bad at this video because they're asking weird questions.
Well, the other thing you can do is show your video to someone else before you enter it. Or, you know, if you have, like me, a very charismatic brother, just make him read your script. No, you just want to be clear. Just give people a clear idea and leave them wanting to know a bit more about your game. What they should see by the end of your video is going, okay, I want to play that one. I want to do the thing that they're doing.
Yeah.
You just want to highlight the key moments from your game that make it stand out. What makes it fun and interesting and different.
So earlier on, you mentioned like deciding which contests are worth your time. Like, how do you go about that?
Well, let's see. Do I have a plausible chance of winning? It's like if they're asking for a legacy game and they've given you 3 months, that is not enough time. And it's just not my wheelhouse. It's like I'd like to do a legacy game, but that's going to be an effort sometime in the deep future when I have a base game that works and something I think I can build on. That would be a lot. Other things that would make it worth my time, other than just hitting skills I'm good at. What are the entry requirements? Do they give me enough time? Do they give me enough constraints to make? I need a challenge. It needs to be. I need the constraints that give me a direction to work in, because I could do anything. I really have the ability to put together a prototype with magnets or wood blocks or foam pieces. It's just like, give me a constraint. Other than that, feedback is nice, but knowing what the judges are looking for is better.
So how do you go about figuring out what the judges are looking for, other than looking at the previous videos?
Previous videos are still great. Knowing what publisher, usually there's a publisher attached to the contest, so you know the kinds of games that they publish, or at least a lot of the publishers just put on their website, these are the kinds of games that we're looking to publish, and these are the types of games we are absolutely not looking to publish. So even a side along with the contest, unless they're trying to break into a new market, you kind of have an idea of what that publisher puts out and try to come up with something that fits in. But see what else would make it more worth my time. It's just looking out for the red flags.
Mm-hmm. Carol had another question. How fully developed are publishers usually expecting these prototypes or pitches to be?
I don't know for sure, but I know when I enter a game into a contest, I myself have played it more than 10 times and made revisions each time. Just knowing enough that the game in your head and the game that you create will be very different the first time that you play it. And it's like you've got blind spots you don't know about till you actually put the pieces on a table and start moving them around. And then just seeing what people do with them, seeing what you yourself do with them. Like, does this work the way I think it does? Or how much time does this take? It's like, I thought this was a very simple game, but we've been moving pieces around for 45 minutes and we're not even half done. Something's going to have to come out of this.
Mm-hmm. So I know like it kind of differs between the contests, but how the Cardboard Edison works is like you need to have enough of a game to have rules in January, but like you don't actually send in the prototype till April-ish. So like I think like for that, like if you could just convince them with a pitch video and rules, like you have enough time. Like I've seen people that like get like they're still playtesting and like figuring all the stuff out. Like if you can just make a hook video and rules that are like reasonable, you can change them later.
They're better than me. You can always change them. I'm of the opinion games they escape. They don't exactly release. They get out not because they're perfect. They get out because they're done.
Mm-hmm.
But for a contest, I personally like to be as I don't know that I'm going to get a second chance. So I try to make my game as close to production as I can make it.
Yeah, like for me when I enter contests, it really depends on like how, like if I had like, did I find the contest like a week before the deadline or like 3 months before the deadline?
Yeah, I do need to have enough time to plausibly complete my prototype. Mm-hmm. But like, I'd like to give myself at least a month. So I usually have to find the contest right when it's starting. But yeah. Like Habas, I'm always looking for when it starts.
Yeah, I think there's also a difference when you're like entering a game like that you worked on or like that you have an idea for. Like, Button Shy, like they're very specific. Like if you just happen to have a worker placement 18 card game like at the right time that you've been playing for so long, like good on you.
No kidding.
But like I know like Cardboard Edison, like you can enter anything. So like usually it's like whatever I'm working on that's like most complete by the time January comes around, I just enter and see where it goes.
And you look at their judges list, it's a knockout list of people. So if I'm going to enter something in Cardboard Edison, I would like to be ready. Yeah. Because I mean, even if you don't win that contest, that your prototype's going to be in front of a number of publishers that have some clout that can make it happen, whether you win or not. You might catch someone's eye.
So Odin had a question and a comment before that. We as publishers ask the designers not only design a game, but often also make videos, design sell sheets, write pitches, and expect a certain level of production quality in a proto. In some cases, games have to be sell ready. Do you think that is a reasonable amount of work for a designer to do on a spec?
Woo, that seems like an awful lot. I mean, a lot of the reason I go to a publisher is to get the marketing and distribution work off of my plate because I'm not good at it. And I have a limited amount of time. The amount that you're asking for, where you're asking for the game to be basically production complete. My art, I expect, is going to get thrown out if I'm going to a publisher. They're going to redo all my stuff. If they redo the art, they're going to have to redo the sell sheets. They're going to have to redo the video. I got to redo a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work that might just be thrown away. It depends on what the publisher wants. If they actually want us to actually do the design, so Let Her Go, Kara actually did all of the work on that. That was reasonable. We had a deal in place when that work was agreed to. I wouldn't do that much work for a contest. It's an awful, awful lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, and I never like I've only run one contest, but like I assume like whenever I enter a contest that like they're going to do more development work. Like I haven't been like getting like all the balance out of it, just like the obvious balance issues, like but like the game is open enough that like if somebody wanted to publish it and retheme it, like I didn't put in like a crazy amount of effort in there, like unless it was like a super passion project or something like that.
Right. I'm seeing we have more questions. I'm not able to read them all real fast.
Charlie asked, how do you decide if you'll pitch a design to other publishers or self-publish?
Complexity of the production. If it's anything more than cards and like a talk box or more printed pieces, like if there's any plastic in the game at all, I'm going to a publisher. It's like I need to know what I can reasonably store at my house and ship via the post office, and won't take up all of the space in my basement. So if anything about bigger than this, if it's not going to fit in a padded mailer, I don't want to deal with it at my house. So I'm going to ask a publisher to deal with it. Maybe one day when I have more time and less of a full-time responsibilities to a day job, that'd be something I'd consider. But at this point, I'm thinking I just want to design the game and leave all of the marketing and distribution and fulfillment to someone else.
I'm about the same way. Like I was really happy. Like one of my like my heaviest game, like it has so much bits and stuff. I found a publisher to sign it, and I was like, yes, I don't have to deal with this like monster of a beast.
Like, I mean, the other thing is the other half of my company, Kara, is the one that has Illustrator and has all that skill. I design my prototypes with anything else I can get my hands on that's free, cheap, and easy.
So how do you find free, cheap, and easy, like cool stuff to design with?
I've used Excel. I've used CardMaker. CardMaker's free. I use paint.net. That's free. It depends. What you need is something that can do mail merge or something very similar to it. So CardMaker takes in Excel spreadsheets or comma delimited files, and you can actually just spit out all the stuff that you need. But it's a bit of a beast to work with. Not as much as Nandeck, which I looked at once and then just kind of laughed and went, "No, thank you."
Yeah. Nandeck, it looks really bad, but if you find the visual editor button, it becomes so much easy. But like you have to find the right button.
And like Bees, I designed in HTML. I found a dice font and then just started making like hexagons and then designed a style sheet and spit it out. It's very odd, but it worked. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. So can you tell us about a time you've learned something major when you've entered a contest?
I'm not sure what that would mean. It's like, it's always worth doing, I've found. It's like, even if you don't win, you've usually completed something. And even if you're not proud of it, it's like, well, I've exercised that demon and I know it doesn't work next time.
I mean, that's a super positive way to look at it. Like that you did something, you completed it, and so you should feel better about yourself. Like you've made a milestone. Like not everyone can complete something. I think that's one of designers' most like their biggest issue is like they never actually complete it. Like
I have a number of half-formed ideas sitting on shelves around here, but and even then, the last contest I did was for Haba, and I've got a bowling dexterity game out of it. They don't need it, but I'm thinking I could pitch it around other places. It's at least an idea I can work on.
Well, and that's a great positive that you mentioned. Like, if you don't win, like, you still have a game that someone could want.
And I still have the full rights to it because I did not enter a contest that gave those away.
Yeah, those are weird contests. Like, a designer should always have the rights. Like, even if they sign their game, like, the rights should come back to them eventually.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting to get the rights back to these and to Let Her Go. Let Her Go will be a bit later, but Bees, man, I want that one back. It's like there's stuff I could do with that.
How play tested do you think the rules should be when you're entering a contest?
I would love to be able to blind play test my rules, but that's not always possible, especially for a contest where deadlines are short. But I always make sure to at least give them to someone else to read who has not played it, and get their questions, get their feedback, watch them read the rules, and see where they furrow their brow. I want to be sure that if I win and I'm handing the publisher my game, I'm not handing them work. I'm handing them my best effort, as much as I could do to make this game ready. That they don't have to do much to it. So Bees was actually a contest entry for the Geekway contest, which we won, and I think they made one rule change to the entire game, and they did their own graphic design. So, but they didn't change much about my game at all. It was pretty much the game that came out as the game I presented, and the rules that came with it very much followed the rules that we gave them.
That's really cool. Could you tell us more about the process of like designing Bees and like what the criteria and everything was?
So the criteria for that contest was a game that has not been submitted to any other. I think it was like the game hasn't been submitted to anyone else, and you could present at Geekway in St. Louis. Ours, I designed that game. Basically, I was trying to make a dice version of Discount Salmon real time, and I started off with just dice and cards and no rules, and they were just 2.5, 3.5 cards with numbers on them. And it was a garbage game, the first version, just there's no redeeming value to it. But it was like, okay, this was a workout. I got a bunch of cards. It doesn't necessarily matter. And the Bee theme came very quickly after that. And once we had the theme, it started informing the mechanics more. So we got to the hexagon-shaped tiles very quickly, flipping them over, building a beehive. That was all good, but there was not a lot of variety to the game. So we eventually came up with the beeline chase, where you have to put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the card and get the wild card to put into your beehive. That was part of the development process. And by the time the contest came around, they were looking for basically done games. And we were like, okay, well, we've got this thing, and it's really good. We'd shown it at Unpub, which was not for contest, but it was. We had like a soft offer, but we didn't have any hard offers on it, so we entered the contest.
Okay.
So, yeah, that one went well. They were very excited about that game, and we did okay.
Well, I mean, you won the contest, so
we won the contest. Yes, we won the contest. That was good.
Was there anything that happened like when you were actually at St. Louis that like did you do anything better than other people? Like, were you super excited or?
Well, the best thing about that particular game was you can play it and teach it inside 10 minutes. And that was about the amount of time that we were given to present to the judges. So that was like special case for us. and their finalist list was maybe 5 people, 5 teams, and our game was more polished, better play tested, and more fun, frankly, than all of those other games. So it almost wasn't fair for our game to be in the contest.
Well, I mean, you are an amazing designer, so is it fair if you enter any of them?
I try to find level playing fields. Like I don't want to go up against Charlie, so I'm going to avoid the ones he's entering. No, I like a challenge. I'm coming for you, Charlie.
I really like that you brought up the whole one of the best things about that game was that you could play and teach it in 10 minutes. Like just the really quick, like, here's what the game is, let's do it. Like getting to the point and getting the experience happening. Because you also brought that up about Discount Salmon as well. And maybe like that's just the thing is like if you can like fully have somebody experience fun during the contest, like that's how to do it.
It definitely helps to make the types of games that I enjoy making, which are, they're done in half an hour. You have just enough, the game doesn't overstay its welcome, and then you play something else. And they're easier to get more playtests in, they're easier to teach, they're easier to understand. I like shorter games. I also like long games, but I don't know how you would pitch Terraforming Mars in 5 minutes. I'm sure it can be done, but I feel like that game was probably half an hour in front of Bonacore, and then here's a copy to take home and play with your guys.
Mm-hmm. If anyone else has any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat or say them out loud because we are getting down to like 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gone by really fast. Okay. If anyone wants to follow up with you afterwards, where can they find you?
I am perennially on Twitter. I'm at Marcus Ross. The company is at Waterbear Games. I have a Facebook, but if you try to find me there, you will get sad. Also, our website's waterbeargames.com. We have email on there. You can send us emails, but if you want us to read them, make sure your headline doesn't look like spam.
I mean, that's a pretty good like if you're sending an email, don't send a spam headline. Like always. Charlie asked, what have you learned in doing family-friendly and party games?
The thing I've learned that is the most illuminating is your game is way harder than you think it is. I have had adults just stare at me when I tried to explain Discount Salmon and not get it, and watch it being played and be an active participant and still not get it. And I'm stunned at like the level of things you can do that makes it too complex for someone is very low. So you want to be very concise, you want to be very clear. And if you can get your rules down to like two sides of one piece of paper, that will definitely help. Don't put anything extra in your game that's not pulling its weight, because they'll just play something else or they'll just buy something else. You have to make it to number 1 on their list of wants for someone to buy your game. It's tough to do. It's a neat trick.
So what, like if you're designing a game and you have some aspects to it where you're not sure if it's actually pulling its weight, like can you tell us like how to figure that out?
I don't know if there's necessarily a trick to it, but like one way is like, is this thing pulling its weight? Take it out and see if the game breaks. Or if you think this might be doing something, put in a bunch of the same thing and make it like free. Everybody can do this thing, problem. But try to tweak something about the game between the playtests to interrogate it. Basically treat it like a murder suspect. It's like, I walked into this room, And look what you've done. This part of my game needs investigation.
Are there any other contests where you have memorable stories?
Let's see. We won the Haba contest once with Color Spiel, which is an abstract game, which is really hard to pull off. And I still haven't been able to sell that game because I haven't been able to complete it to. Is like the problem with an abstract game is there's nowhere to hide anything. There's no theme to go, and you just kind of paper over this because it's birds. It's not. There's nowhere to hide. I just have colors and numbers and bits. So that one I'm still working on. I got 5th place in the hop contest another year, and that game did have a theme. It was a zoo game where the zoo animals are trying to get back into their cages before the zookeeper arrives in the morning. That one was interesting. And the constraint with that was still Haba's bits. So we had just a ton of wood components. And I know what the flaws are with that game. I haven't been able to fix it yet, but at least gave me something I could work on and gave me ideas. The game I just did for Haba is, again, that bowling game. The only good thing I got out of that is I bought some more tools that I can use to make really thick cardboard chips. I watched a video of Antoine Bauza making chips at his house. He's got these big, they're called arch punches. They're giant metal things that you hit with like a 3-pound sledgehammer. And those will punch through pretty much any piece of cardstock. So anything I've picked up skills from contests more than I've picked up like necessarily winning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you have won like far more contests than I have. But like you're good humor about it too, where you're like, you got the skills, you got the experience. Like, I think that's really awesome.
I mean, that's the value that I'm really looking for in contests. Is like, what can I pick up from this and use later, even if I don't win? And more than that, can I do some more networking and show people that I know what I'm doing, so they'll think of me when they've got a game, when I've got a game and I'm looking to get it published, or they've got a game they need some work done on. They're like, oh, okay, this guy knows at least a little bit.
Ian asked, is there anything you'd recommend a designer absolutely avoid doing when entering a contest?
Most of the same things you'd avoid doing in person, like, here's the NDA for my game, or what else do people do that's just generally like the wrong thing to do? I wouldn't expect too much when entering a contest. Like most of the time, I expect a rejection letter. It's like, oh, okay, we chose our finalists. It was not you. If you have more expectations than that, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But honestly, just follow all the rules that they set out for the contest. That's just the stakes of entry.
Yeah. So I judged the Cardboard Edison one year, and I think so I could basically tell like if a video was going to be good or not based on the time of it. Well, like as you brought up like tons of times, like get to the point real fast. Like I think their limit was 5 minutes, so any video that was 5 minutes or more was just automatically not good.
Don't be boring. Don't waste their. I just respect the judge's time. Like, when they looked at your video, it's not the first one they've seen today. It's not the last one they're going to see today. They're probably going to watch 12 of these things for the next hour, and you're just make it something that they'll remember. Don't be boring.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness, a video that is just the face shot design. No, absolutely. Make sure you get the components on the video. Show the game. That I did see once someone pitching a game where they discussed all the ideas and never showed a single card. And I went, how would I play this? Make it something I could see myself playing and show me the game working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
really. I mean, that's kind of tough.
Like it doesn't have to be a good video as long as like somebody can tell what is the game. Like if they like watched a video Like there were some videos where I watched it and I was like, should I watch that again? I'm not really like, I don't know what I
Did I
just
miss
watched.
something? It's like, if they watched it, they need to be able to summarize it to someone else and not get confused when they do it. Like, if someone knows just like, what was that game about? They should have an answer. And hopefully a smile when they say it.
Mhm. Any last questions from any of the audience? Or Marcus, if you have any last like tips or tricks or any thoughts we didn't get to so far?
The only thing I would do for a contest is I take the deadline and I circle it, because the last thing I want to do is miss the entry window, having done all of that work. So I have a great big calendar on my wall, which I can't. I guess I could show. I can't really show. But yeah, I note when the contest is due and put my entry in last day before. It just takes that long.
Andres asked, when are you going to run a contest?
Oh, I don't know if I want that. I think next month we're going to be judging the micro grant for something or other. I don't remember exactly what I was doing. And I want to do anything more than that, because like I don't have anything to offer a contest winner. I'm not going to be publishing anybody else's games. I'm barely publishing my own. So we've sold 2 of our games to publishers. So yeah, I don't think it's a thing I'm going to do for quite some time. Maybe when I retire.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here, Marcus, and thank you all for participating. If you want to talk about this later, we have a Discord at weirddraftgames.com/Discord, which Marcus is there sometimes. Maybe he'll be there more if he's requested.
I'm definitely there. You can reach out to me there too.
But I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. And thank you, Marcus.